Welcome back, everybody, to the Running It Back Network's coverage of the Tour de France for 2025. It is stage 15, won by Tim Wellens of the UAE team. Fun stage today, rest day tomorrow. So the questions leading up into today's stage: what would this be? Would it be a breakaway day? Would it be a GC day? Would it be a slow day in the peloton? What's going on? It's this tour's hard to predict in some circumstances, and let's talk about it because ended up being a very interesting stage. A lot to talk about, a couple of thoughts, a couple notes, but let's start like we always do with headlines. So welcome in, everybody. Welcome new subscribers and viewers and listeners too. This is how we started out. We're going to do headlines first, and let's start with a day for the breakaway. Wait. A day for the breakaways, because there were several breakaways today. It took a long time to form the actual today's breakaway, and when it finally did, some people joined that breakaway later. First part of this stage seemed like really hard, very hard to establish anything. The peloton was strung out for a large portion of at least the first half of this race. There was crosswinds, there was single file peloton groups going on, and at some point there were two big pelotons as well. And then there was little breaks going up the road. Our guy Nissan Palace started one off, and of course a breakaway made it all the way to the finish line today. And I think once that breakaway was established, which Tim Wellens was in from UAE backed off the front of it, and then the time gap finally blew up. But that took a long time to actually happen. So as far as today goes, breakaways were active. The racing was aggressive. The peloton felt the effects of pace setting. We saw a couple of crashes, one I want to talk about later. So quite the random day for the non-GC riders, breakaway specialists, and then not to mention the sprinters, people going for sprint points, had to pay attention today because Mathieu van der Poel has kind of crept into the points race as well. So a real day for the breakaway. If you like tactics and watching breakaways and feeling it out, who's got what the breakaway makeup is, what that's going to be, today was actually pretty fun. I got a lot of enjoyment out of today. And I did a bike ride this morning, and I mounted my phone on my bike, on my stem there, and tried to watch it. Didn't work out as well as I had hoped, but I could still kind of listen to it and peek down at the phone, at the screen, but I still couldn't really watch it. I just had it going. I could listen, and that was pretty nice. But if you like breakaways, today was the day, and I thought it was a fun stage. Nothing changed in the GC. Nothing changed in the points jersey. Nothing really changed, period, but that didn't mean we didn't have some great racing. And that's what the Tour is right now. Now the Tour is established. This is what we're going to have, and we're 2 weeks in. So everybody is kind of used to everybody at this point. We know who the heavy hitters are. We know who the riders are that can win stages. We know who can sprint. We know who can climb. So the Tour is very comfortable right now with itself. And now we see how the racing goes. So second headline of the day: Visma's tactics again. It seems Visma is now set on stage wins. They played a very odd tactical game today because at one point they're trying to get somebody in the breakaway. Campenarts makes the breakaway. At one point, Sepp Kuss is trying to get a breakaway. Matteo Jorgensen is trying to get a breakaway very unsuccessfully due to Tadej Pogačar following him around everywhere. And then lastly, Jonas Vingegaard a couple of times is caught behind a crash or there's a split and nobody goes back to help him get back in. I couldn't understand this at all. They just forget about Jonas. We're going for stage wins now. Wout as well got in the breakaway. I couldn't figure it out. Jonas got stuck behind a crash, I think, and then again needed a bike change. And he was in the cars, and there was a rider from a totally different team that he was following. It was very unusual to see that you've got second in GC riding by himself to get in the cars on his own and just to the back of the peloton, not even back to the front of it. He had to get to the back on his own, and I don't know how he got back to the front because nobody was around. Nobody was waiting. I think Wiesma just overthinks everything. They have like so much talent, and they try and win the race, and all they do is overthink it. We saw it today. They didn't win today. They potentially left out Jonas isolated. They couldn't get in any breaks with Jorgensen and Kuss. But in a perfect world, they did get their 2 good breakaway riders in the break today. It just didn't work out. So hard to understand what exactly Wiesma is doing out there now. The oddest part was there was some point where Jonas was getting back to the back of the peloton, and Wiesma was at the front of the peloton still trying to get breaks going and attacking. It was like they were like the radios weren't working, or they didn't really have a plan, or it was just chaotic out there. Wiesma, if we compare Wiesma to the UAE team today, Wiesma is like a team, like if you put a band together full of lead guitarists. And look at, you got Jonas, who is a phenomenal climber, time trialist. You've got Wout van Aert, phenomenal classics rider, sprinter, and on the right day, a very useful rider in the mountains. You got Jorgensen, who has proven that he can ride the mountains. You have Sepp Kuss, who has proven he can ride a high GC in the mountains on a good day. So you put all these Wiesma guys together with multiple goals, and it has not worked out. It's not worked out as far as, I don't mean like they're not successful. It's like just as far as team cohesion, just seems very distracted, very distant, very convoluted. What exactly is happening? Are they as tight a team as, by comparison, to UAE, who knows their roles? They put together a team who is working for Pogačar. And if something changes, if another opportunity arises, they ride accordingly, but never not protecting Pogačar. They set the tempo at the beginning of this stage, and you saw it. They set the tempo for, by and large, the first half of this race. Staying at the front, riding tempo, because breakaways are going up the road early. However, nothing really got that much more than a minute because of the pace being set, largely from UAE, but also other teams trying to get off the front into these breakaways. They're chasing them back down. Ineos missed the break. They tried really hard to get across to it, which Bobro was critical of, and I'm very interested to listen to the butterfly effect later today to hear what that critique will be of Bobro's comment, because Ineos missed the break and they put riders on the front to bring it back. And Bobro's like, what are you doing? You missed the break, so say you want to bring it back, but you don't have anybody that can get in the break now. I was like, well, then what are they supposed to do? Like, aren't they supposed to chase down a break and maybe bridge it if it gets close enough, or at least bring it back to reset? So I don't know what the critique is going to be, because I thought that comment didn't make a lot of sense from Bob Roll. You want to make the race. If that means bring the break back or within distance to try and bridge to it, you do that. So I'll see if my criticism, my understanding is correct from that standpoint. Last thing on the cohesion of UAE and Pogačar. You know, Pogačar we heard the clip of him on the team radio encouraging his teammate Tim Wellens up the road. So Pogačar, by everything I consider I've seen, it seems to be also like one of the nicest guys as well. At least this is what it seems like to me. So when Jonas was off the back, I was fully expecting Tadej to say, like, to his teammates, hey, go help Jonas come back in there. Go help him there, Niels Pollitt. Go give him a hand. And then go to UAE guys are pacing him back. It's like, hey, we brought your guy back for you, Wiesma, since you obviously don't want to help him anymore. We thought we'd help out. I was ready for that to happen from Tadej. Also like Tadej's little white world champion sleeve that he's wearing on his arm. They got a little scratched up from his crash. And last headline of the day, green jersey points race heats up because Matthew Van Der Poel is now in the race. He got some points in there. And Jonathan Milan had a hard day today. He is another one, that his team is another one that was a little confusing today, because he tried to start a move today. I don't know what the plan was. Not going to stay away. And then he went out the back of the peloton. He was lucky the break up the road had 15 riders to gobble up all the points, but Van der Poel got some points today. So that is an interesting race. We got Pogačar, Jonathan Milan, and Mathieu Van der Poel now in that top 3 striking distance for the green jersey. We don't know how much Pogačar has any interest in this green jersey, but by way of default, his finishes on, especially these mountains, which somehow have points for it, are going to put him just in the standings because he can climb so well. So it is becoming quite the showdown, and it might come down to the final day in Paris. Jonathan Milan, sprint finish, could win that stage. Hey, but so could Van der Poel. And would it be crazy if Pogačar got in the points for the final day? Nope, it would not. So those are my headlines today. Breakaways, odd team tactics, and the green jersey has now become my favorite competition. White jersey, polka dots, not so much, but green, because now I got to watch that early break. And I'm watching the screen. I'm watching the Peacock coverage, and I'm looking for the graphic. How much distance to the intermediate sprint? How much more do we have to go? Who's on the front? Milan's team trying to bring back a breakaway, or who's trying to get in a breakaway to snatch up some points. And Chris Horner made a great point on the butterfly effect yesterday that Milan got a lead out from his team. He got the intermediate sprint, but because his team all pulled off, Pogačar sort of slides in and grabbed a couple points where his team could have stayed on the pedals and gobbled up a few more of those points. It's a hard strategy, I think, to convey to maybe young riders, young racers, but management should know this by now because 3 points could make all the difference. So green jersey is now, I think, the competition to watch. And we've had this before where GC's kind of wrapped up and like, we need to look for something. And green jersey is great. It has been really, really good and competitive. We didn't really talk about Van der Poel a couple of days ago. And guess what? Now he's in that competition. That's going to be fun. I'm really hoping that comes down to the wire because we need some competition here. Okay, moving on. Next segment, we got the USA report. Now, this one's a little stacked today because we had quite the USA day. Nielsen Palace, EF Education, was early breakaway guy today. He was the initiator from kilometer 0. He was solo for a while. They caught up to him. So great day to stretch his legs. He's really going to look for more breakaways. And today was great. He was very useful in the break today, very active. Sepp Kuss, there were little attempts from Sepp Kuss today. It wasn't he wasn't helping Jonas that much, although I'm sure Jonas got in his wheels many times. Jorgensen had an interesting day today. He tried a number of times to get going in a break, and who do you think follows him is Pogačar every single time. Listening to the Lanterne Rouge today, they floated the idea, theory, rumor that I keep calling them USC like they're the USC Trojans. UAE has a rider blacklist of people that just will not get in a breakaway, will not be allowed to get in a breakaway. And apparently Jorgensen is on that list because Pogačar was not giving him an inch today as far as trying to get in a breakaway role. So if Visma continues what I think they're going to continue, they're going to try for more breaks. And we're going to see if Jorgensen can get in one or not, or is just going to be followed around. So now it's heating up. This is what the Tour does. We're getting to the third week. People are tired. People are angry. People are frustrated. And it's starting to show now. Next, USA rider Will Barta survived. That's all we can ask for. He made the finish. And then lastly, Quinn Simmons, USA Report story of the day. He got in yet another breakaway. He was active in the breakaway. Tried to follow Tim Wellens after he had a gap. Unsuccessful. He's been in several breakaways and nothing has really materialized other than his second place on that very first breakaway in the race. But I want to talk about his interview post-race because this was the most agitated, upset, pure reaction, raw reaction we've had from Quinn Simmons. Because remember early in the Tour de France, he was saying, I'll do what's needed from me. I'll do what the team asks, whether it's set tempo or I've got some days for me. I'll do what's asked. But today, in his interview, he said he was in disagreement with the team's goals early in the stage. He's like, why are we riding early in the stage? Didn't like it. Then he gets in the breakaway, and he blamed the motorcycles for aiding Tim Wellens in his break with a draft of the motorcycle, which happens more often than you would think. Number one, there's so many motorcycles that it would not be that hard to find one to at least get a draft up for a second, then 2 seconds, then 1 second. So he was very upset with the motorcycles, and then he was upset with the tactics in the breakaway. Now, some of this is debatable because he was mad that some of the breakaway riders weren't working equally as hard. Mainly Tim Wellens. Tim Wellens, who won the stage for UAE, was not working that much in the break. And then he attacks and, of course, gets up the road. So I'll listen to the Move podcast today, and I never heard of this unwritten rule or this understanding in the peloton that if you get in a break and your teammate is in the jersey, it's okay for you to not work. It's expected. I've never heard of that rule or that understanding. And for one, I don't fully understand it as a breakaway rider. So if you are Quinn Simmons and you're going back to Tim Wellens, like, hey, you need to work. And it's like, no, I'm just patrolling the break. We've got the lead. I can't work. And you say, okay. But then he goes off the front and wins the stage. Quinn Simmons called it Cat 5 racing and tactics. And I would agree with that. But I also would say, Quinn Simmons, it is a race. There is such a thing as strategy. And if he's sitting on the back there and he attacks, we can't be that surprised by it, that he's sitting there, not pedaling. He's fresh. And he's like, now guess what? I've got another bullet to fire than you guys, and I can win the stage. It's not dirty tactic. It's savvy, but as a racer, you should have saw that potential. You should have sat on him, or you should have been keeping an eye on him, because if you think everybody in a breakaway is just going to go to the center of the ring and just trade punches or hard pulls, it's not how racing works. We know that. So his frustrations really boiled to the surface today. I don't blame him, but I think some criticism finally is coming his way for getting every single breakaway and really not featuring in any of these final selections of these breakaways. Other than that second place, which was uphill, so it was just pure strength, pure fitness. But as far as reading the break, reading the course, finding the wheel to follow, it has not been there. We saw it with the Ben Healy win. He couldn't follow Ben Healy, or Ben Healy went early enough, no one was expecting it, stayed away. We saw it a few days later where Quinn Simmons went early, was too early, never got a big enough gap, never established that gap, that pace. And then today, where they were all caught off guard by Tim Wellens, and Quinn Simmons, because he's so strong, was really the only one to try and chase. But all we saw was the gap get bigger, just get bigger and bigger to Wellens. It was 30 seconds, it was a minute, then it was a minute 30. And then I think he got caught from behind, and the gap stayed the same. So from the USA report, the Quinn Simmons, I think the rest day tomorrow will help him. Got to reset, plan that stage. The weird part, or the one potential that can ruin the rest of the tour for him, is the team orders, the team tactics. What's the goal here? How are you being utilized as a breakaway rider? Because he's strong enough to win a stage. We know that. Does he really need to be pulling on the front early? Does he need to be setting pace for these intermediate sprints? Is he a lead-out guy, or is he a breakaway guy? Because at some point, you can't do both, because other riders who are potentially getting in breaks are not doing both. So an interesting day for Quinn Simmons. I really hope we get some more interviews from him tomorrow on the rest day that are going to be more telling on the rest of his tour. So let's move on. We got winners and losers of the tour today. So let's start with winners. Winners, How about Pogacar's use of the radio today? Calling up is like, hey, how is Wellens looking? Oh, he's looking great. Okay, encourage him. Great job. Go Wellens. You're doing great. That's a winner. Also, I like how Pogacar's just a leader out there. And next winner of the day was, how about a feisty breakaway? Like, this is a winner for me. Maybe a week ago would have been a loser, but a feisty breakaway. Riders yelling at each other, giving each other the hand, yelling to get to, like, let's get moving, encouraging each other. Like, I like a feisty breakaway in week 2. Like, hey, we haven't done shit all tour. Let's go. Let's get this going. It's like, well, we have one. Some stages here like, I don't care. Let's go. All right, I'm dropping you out of the breakaway. I'm following you. Hey, Jorgensen, you're not getting the breakaway. Love it. Love a feisty breakaway. But now let's go to losers of the tour. I got just one because I want to spend some time on this one. Julian Alaphilipe, I think you're a loser of the tour today. Starting with yesterday, did you catch Julian Alaphilipe riding up the hill and he sees a cardboard sign from a spectator and he just goes up and grabs it? Spectator doesn't know what he's doing, doesn't know he's going to grab it. He kind of rips it and he takes this little piece of cardboard and he puts it in his jersey, old school, to get a little wind protection because they're going to go downhill. Just mugging for the cameras, like, look at me, look how funny this is. And the spectator's probably like, hey, man, my sign. I had a Wout sign and he's not even come up yet. And you ripped it apart. There's something about pro riders where they really think they can do anything. And I, years ago, worked at a bicycle store where you would have pro riders come in from time to time. We had Dave Zabriskie would come in, Levi Leipheimer would come in. We would have Olympic athletes because the Olympic Training Center was in Salt Lake City where I lived. And I worked with other people that just, as soon as they came in, you just bawled over these people. Like, you need a chair? You want something to drink? How's your bike? It was just nonstop. And like, hey, is there any place? Like, I'll show you. Cut to, I worked at another bicycle store in Los Angeles where you would have celebrities come in every now and again. And everybody would just cater to these people. It's celebrities. There was like Patrick Dempsey came in. David Beckham came in once. I did a bicycle fit on Jason Bateman once. Usher was another one that we shut down the store for. So what's the point I'm trying to make here? The point I'm trying to make here is that these pro athletes really think they can do anything, anytime. Throw bottles out, and they're just kind of like applauded for it. It didn't sit well with me that Alaphilipe just ripped this person's sign out of their hands, put it in his jersey, which he didn't use that for the downhill. There's no way it's stuck out of his jersey. And he's like, look how funny a guy I am. There was a nice touch. Him and Wout took a picture with a fan today. They found her. So that was nice. So now let's cut to today. Julian Alaphilipe crashes. And it looks like a nasty crash at first. He's holding the shoulder like the collarbone. We found out later he dislocated his shoulder. Pops it back in. But he was on the ground for maybe 2 minutes. And at this point, the peloton is flying. It's single file. He gets up on the bike. He's not pedaling hard. And I think it was 10 minutes later, and like, Alaphilippe's back in the group. So am I wrong to deduce that he hung onto a car to get back in there? And I predict in a day or so, we're going to see some video of him hanging on a car. There's no way he sits on the floor for 2 minutes at a peloton going full bore, and he's back at the back of that peloton in 10 minutes on his own. There's no way. And then lastly, in classic Alaphilippe fashion, he's in the group sprinting for third place, and he comes through, wins the sprint for third, and thinks he won. And he does a little Alaphilippe celebration. I never liked the Alaphilippe celebrations where he kind of tries to do a fist pump, but he does it from the side. He goes like that. I don't know what that is. And every rider essentially at some point in their career thinks they've won a race, don't know there's some people ahead. But Capenarts was like 50 meters ahead. I don't know how we didn't see him. I didn't understand that at all. So I'm mainly keeping my eye out for the Alaphilippe hangs onto a car. He had to. I went back and watched it. He's on the floor. I thought he was out of the race. And he's back at the back of the group in no time. So that's my loser of the day. Didn't get it. Didn't like the sign taking from the lady. Didn't like the crash. Didn't like the celebration either. Moving on. Let's go to Media GC. ranking the popular podcasts, popular YouTube shows by their views for yesterday's stage. The Move podcast today, the Move podcast from yesterday's stage got 51K views. Lantan Rouge, 25K. And the Butterfly Effect in a tie with the Move, 51K. We have a split decision this week. I don't know if that's ever happened. I'm going to have to really go to the views to see where in that 51,000 who got what to determine it. But how about that? A dead heat from Chris Horner's Butterfly Effect and the Move with Lance Armstrong right there at 51K. Interesting. It's heating up with the podcast as well. It seems like the Move is found a groove, because now we're in the third week. They're getting a little tired. They're getting a little comfortable. Chris Horner, I think, is just finding his groove right now. And the Lantan Rouge is just solid. It's just solid. It's going to be great details, things you didn't notice that happen in there, insider tracks. Those two deserve more views. If they could get a celebrity or a rider interview in there, that could be something that puts them over the top. But their stuff is solid. If you don't listen to Lantan Rouge, it's great. It comes on right after the stage as well. So that's Media GC for the day. So now that leads us into Monday, which is a rest day. So we got rider interviews. We got riders doing rides. We still haven't seen a big publicity stunt on a rest day yet. So this will be a fun day to watch. I might be glued in for interviews, clicking stuff like that. I'm afraid I'm going to fall victim to some clickbait on Monday as well, but we'll see. We'll see. I really need to get a follow-up on Quinn Simmons and how he's feeling, because he was not happy. Not happy with the team, not happy with the break. I think he's a little frustrated that his breakaways, he's getting into breaks, but not producing from the break, not even close, besides that one day. So I need to follow up on him, see what's going on. Okay, everybody, that was stage 15 in the tour. That was the Running It Back channel's recap of the tour. If you made it this far, thanks for watching. Thanks for listening. Thank you, new subscribers. Give it a subscribe if you haven't already. If you like my stuff, go watch my other videos that are up there. Stand-up comedy clips, my interview series, not to mention, I think there's some other stuff on there. I got the movie series up there as well. And this very show right here that you're listening to, the recap of every single stage in the Tour de France. Rest day tomorrow, everybody. Get some rest. Get ready for the final week of the tour. I will, and I'll be here for every single stage of the tour. See you then.